The deadliest weapons from every time period.
Here are the deadliest weapons from every time period in
every time period. What is a deadliest weapon of all time? A spear. Spear in caveman eras. Bow and arrow, probably big. First gun, probably fire, musket, nuclear weapon at some point.
history. The Stone Age. Back when humans still slept in caves, the options for killing each other weren't quite as exciting as they are today. For most of the Stone Age, your best weapon was just that, a stone. They were surprisingly effective. Just one hard hit with a rock is more than enough to crack.
You didn't think in the Stone Age they just used sharpened sticks? I feel like cavemen in the Stone Age were smart enough. Yeah, they used like sharpened sticks. I'm pretty sure even in like the Stone Age what weapons did they use in the Stone Age? I feel like they had to have had other stuff. Yeah, the Stone Age is just anything pre-metal. So it would just be like any sharp rocks, spears, bows, harpoons. It's just like, they still had stuff. Like, didn't the Mayans have like obsidian tools?
A human skull like an egg. They also weren't too bad from a distance either. Thunk. Eventually,
there's no way they just use rocks. I refuse to believe they just use rocks.
someone had the brilliant idea to put a sharpened stone on the
Okay, there we go. Spear, as I said. Called it.
end of a stick and call it a spear. Then, some 70,000 years ago, one guy was like, man, I hate that guy over there, but he's too far away to stab him with a spear or even throw a rock at him.
So let me shoot a mini spear at him. Oh my god, because an arrow is just a mini spear. How did they make a bow and arrow, though? Like, what string is like, elastic enough to shoot? Rope? You're not using rope. Like, twine? What material you could fucking, like, sling together that would be strong enough to pull, but the tension would... A slingshot, yeah, like, what you're saying, like a rock slingshot? Yeah, but that's for, like, small birds with, like, stones. What material was used for bowstring in the Stone Age? Not horsehair. Plant fibers like nettle, flax, and hemp, as well as animal sinew. What the fuck is animal sinew? A tough, fibrous connective tissue that attaches muscle to bone? Oh my god, I get this in my fast food chicken sandwiches. Like, right on the tendon. They would use that. Wow, how would they dry it and then fucking rip it? Bamboo strips, cane. I feel like those got to be weak-ass bow and arrows.
Ha! You missed. Ugh. Simple weapons like these were literally all that we had for most of our history as a species. But as civilizations around the world expanded...
Dude, I always think about the fact that, like, if you were just one dude with an AK-47 in, like, the 1300s... you could just rule the world. Like, they can't kill you. Like, if you went, like, or not the 13, yeah, ammo. I'm saying, say you had an AK with infinite ammo. You could, like, pull up to, like, pre-gun era and just be fine.
Weapons were forced to become more advanced. The Bronze Age. Take, for example, the macuahuitl, an ancient weapon used by the Aztec civilization in Central America. This weapon combined the best parts of a wooden club and a dozen small daggers, with sharp obsidian blades on the sides that were there just to make sure the Aztecs' enemies could never survive the wounds this weapon inflicted. Though we all know how that ended up going. A less effective melee weapon with a much cooler story is the trident. It was primarily used for fishing.
And Aquaman.
How exciting. But it also got some action in the Roman Colosseum as the primary weapon of a type of gladiator called a retiarius. A retiarius was traditionally equipped with a trident, a small dagger, and a fishing net, and they would
they'd throw it on the motherfucker and then stab him.
Have little to no armor or even clothing. They'd be pitted against fighters with much more armor than them, and use their speed and agility to dodge their enemies' attacks, and try to tangle them in their net, while
I would just chuck the net at him, and then you just go, Ugh!
Simultaneously trying to...
Chat, you're in a gladiator match. What is your weapon of choice? I would want, like, a two-sided spear. Nah, it's gotta be a weapon. Chat, you can't say a fucking Glock 19, bitch. That's cheating. I'm saying weapon of choice in gladiator eras. Everybody's just saying a gun. That's not... You're in ancient gladiator times. Oh, the Tsar Bomba. Okay. Fuck. I would probably pick, like, a double-sided spear. That would be awesome.
Stab them with their trident.
You get range and you can kind of like pivot.
The trident typically only left small, non-fatal wounds so as to make the fight last.
I would want a comically large Elden Ring sword, and I just that I have to drag on the ground behind me, and using all of my strength, I can pick it up and fucking throw it down, miss, and then they stab me.
It's longer for the entertainment of the audience. In any case, the most prevalent weapons in use during the Bronze Age had to have been slings, swords and spears of various types, including the Egyptian khopesh, as well as the shield. While useful in hand-to-hand combat, they were even better when used in an army formation, such as the phalanx.
Dude, I remember the first time I watched 300, that was life-changing. Life-changing. I feel like that is a experience every kid goes through, watching 300 for the first time and be like, wow, this is badass. Hold men! And then they go, thump, they catch all the arrows. This is Sparta, kick the guy off. Oh my God. And they beat it's like the actual underdog skill diff fight. Like fucking 300 guys beat like 10,000.
Soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder.
Troy's better. Troy's also a good movie. I don't think 300 sucks, though.
As they advanced, completely unstoppable. These sorts of weapons were all well and good for fights between individuals or armies, but less effective at taking on the well-fortified castles common to the next period, the Middle Ages.
Cannons.
Necessity is the mother of invention, and when the necessity is breaking into a palace and mercilessly slaughtering all your enemies, the inventions are siege weapons. Huge machines usually operated by multiple—
Ooh, a catapult? Didn't they, in medieval times, used to fling, like, dead, infected bodies and stuff over the walls? Not bodies, but, like, they would fling, not just, like, rocks and shit that was on fire. They would fling, like, yeah, like rotting bodies. Yeah, the Mongols did. Yeah, and it would cause because if you sat in there too long, everybody would just get infected and die.
Soldiers that were great at tearing down the
dead possums. You think a dead possum was ever loaded into a catapult? Probably not.
Dreams of kings. There were so many types of siege weapons that I can't cover them all in this one video, so I'll just go over my favorites.
Is that just a big battering ram? Oh no, it's just art. Is that a cannon? That looks like the biggest cannon tube ever.
The siege hook was a large device that could be used to literally just pull a wall down by grabbing it and yanking it away. Effective and very simple, 4 stars. The trebuchet was a device invented in ancient China. Larger and more deadly than a catapult, it could throw a stone weighing 200 pounds.
Bro, what was that show? This brought back a memory. What was that show the Mythbusters put on every year for like 3 years, where it was a competition where they had to throw a pumpkin further than another person, and all these people came from all over the United States and the world with their own inventions on how to shoot a pumpkin far. It wasn't Mythbusters, but it was the Mythbuster guys. Do y'all remember that? That's probably real niche. Pumpkin Chunkin'. Y'all remember Pumpkin Chunkin'? 2011, Pumpkin Chunkin'. They held a contest in Delaware. 120 teams came in with their different inventions on how to shoot a pumpkin far. And the trebuchet reminded me because some would have trebuchets, some would have like canisters of compressed air. Dude, that show, awesome. Awesome. Bring that back.
To a distance of up to 275 meters, or almost 3 football fields. Very terrifying, 5 stars.
That might have been a video from Pumpkin Chunkin'.
5 meters.
That might be a pumpkin in the air right there. It's probably not.
Or almost 3 football fields. Very terrifying, 5 stars. The ballista was basically a giant, really destructive crossbow. The crossbow is already cool, and making it bigger is a good idea in my eyes. 5 stars. The battering ram was a log held by a bunch of soldiers that they would use to repeatedly hit walls and gates until they broke. How can you even call this a weapon? It may have been effective, but consider how annoying it would have been to use. Imagine the splinters in your skin, the smell of wood irritating your eyes, and the pain if you all dropped it on their poor little toes. 0 stars. My channel is still small enough that I can easily read and reply to every comment I get, so please—
I'd be one of those guys that acts like I'm holding it. You ever see videos of that shit? Where, like, they'll be carrying something and some dude's just kind of standing there like this, like, pressed up against it, but he's not actually holding any of the weight. Ram! Boom! He's just acting out of breath.
Please, let me know your favorite siege weapon in the comments. While technologies like this made armies more formidable on land, other civilizations were busy developing weapons to fight their enemies approaching from the sea. Introducing Greek fire. This was a sticky mixture that could be ignited and burned for hours, even when placed on water, making it incredibly dangerous for your average seafaring warmonger. Roman sailors would spray this flaming mixture onto their enemies' ships through tubes, or load it into hand grenades before tossing them aboard their opponents' vessels. Greek fire was so effective that the Byzantine Empire couldn't afford to let their enemies discover the recipe to create it, and so it became a closely guarded secret. Even today, we don't know exactly how it was manufactured, but it's generally believed to be similar to a modern flammable liquid called napalm. We've come to a point in history where we can begin to discuss the invention of the weapon that fundamentally altered how
They had the fucking parent of napalm in Greek times? Holy shit. Imagine being the ship, though, that's shooting that at another one, and you accidentally get some on your own ship. Do you think that ever happened? Where you're shooting it out, and then it's just, lights your own fucking boat on fire?
wars were fought and changed our existence as a species forever. This weapon is the gun. Modern guns are unreasonably effective at killing people. Just ask any American third grader, they'll tell you.
Oh, stop.
In the year 950, the ancient Chinese decided to put a tube of gunpowder on the end of a traditional spear. When ignited,
That's just a fucking firework. Is this how those, what are those fireworks called? The whistling popping ones? Bottle rockets.
tube would spray fire from one end at the attacker's victim. Eventually, they added debris and pellets to the gunpowder, which would also be ejected from the tube. This is the fire lance, and it's basically a spear, a flamethrower, and the world's first gun, all in one weapon.
Alright, I'm picking a fire lance for my weapon in the gladiator ring.
Personally, I would hate to
Oh wait, no, this is the Middle Ages. Never mind.
be on the receiving end of this thing. This time period set the stage for a new level of innovation and cruelty in the creation of weapons. The goal was no longer just to kill your enemies, it was to do it in the quickest, most destructive way possible,
I think that was always the goal. They just never invented anything prior. I don't think war prior to the fire lance was like, hey, we're just gonna make this battle 5 years long. I think they were always like, we want to win now, but we can't.
Unimaginable pain and suffering so that anyone else would be too scared to fight you. As history shows,
I think one of the most terrifying things was being one of the guys with a flamethrower strapped to your back in World War II. For both parties. Being the guy with the flamethrower, because if they fucking shoot you, you have a bomb on your back that would blow up. And then also being the guys in the huts hiding when you're the dude that just walks in and rips them apart. Aren't flamethrowers banned now in war? I don't know. I feel like you're not allowed to use flamethrowers in war. It's cruel.
this sort of thing would
Yeah,
only
it's a war crime.
get worse. World Wars. World War I completely changed how our species approached violent conflict.
Dude, in World War I, prior to them having, because World War I, they had planes, but it was trench warfare, but they weren't that crazy of planes. So early planes in World War I, they would just bring a bunch of grenades and just drop them. Before they had an area with a bomb bay and mounted guns and stuff, they would just have an old plane fly over and just drop grenades into the trenches.
The Industrial Revolution had just concluded
Play the video. See ya, Christian. You don't have to watch my stream, boss.
decades ago, and humanity had so many
You could go watch it. Deadliest weapons from every time period. Shout out Just a Rock in Space. I'll fucking sub.
new technologies to try out for the purpose of killing. The soldiers of the First World War saw huge advancements in machine guns and grenades, as well as the invention of tanks and warplanes, which took the fighting to the skies. But these are not the most horrifying weapons used during this time. No, not by a
What, mustard gas? Probably gas.
long shot. Imagine you're a soldier in the trenches. You haven't seen any action for a few days now, and you and your fellow combatants are relaxed. You take turns keeping watch, but there's been no enemy activity to report. Suddenly, however, your watchman calls for your attention. An enormous cloud of yellowish-brown smoke is on the horizon, being blown towards you by the wind at an alarming speed. You're a trained fighter, so normally you wouldn't be scared, but in this case, there is no enemy to shoot at. Your only chance is to run from this new horror, and run you do. It's not enough. You are enveloped by the gas completely, and your skin begins to blister as your eyes swell shut. Breathing becomes excruciatingly painful, and you are screaming. So are your fellow soldiers, shocked and disoriented.
Well, and it's crazy how simplistic this was to make. Don't people die every year cleaning their homes because they accidentally mix ammonia and bleach? Like, if they're rubbing, like, a lot of people will die because they're cleaning their bathtub and they'll use bleach, and then they'll be like, oh, I'll use ammonia too. And then they just fucking pass out in their bathtub and die.
If any of you somehow make it out of this cloud of mustard gas, you could remain alive suffering.
You just taught some kid how to make it. I think I'm doing the exact opposite and warning people. If some psychopath watching me decides they want to make mustard gas, I don't think that I'm the causation of that. I think they're already demented in some sort of way that is, they were probably going to be corrupt in another way or another. Kids are dumb. If I openly talk, Sketty, I don't know if you're rage baiting here, but I'm actively just saying, hey, this is dangerous. I don't think I'm telling people to make mustard gas.
The effects for weeks. Swollen lungs, blistered skin, vomiting, and blindness, before you finally succumb to death. Gas attacks of many varieties were used by both sides in World War I, but none were quite so horrifying as mustard gas.
What was used in Vietnam? And it was like orange, and they would spray it everywhere.
Eventually, international treaty laws would ban the use of toxic gas in combat.
That wasn't napalm, it was something else. Agent Orange.
As the effects were seen as too inhumane. In a war that took the lives of 20 million people, that is saying something. World War I was truly the war to end all wars, until it wasn't anymore, when a certain Austrian painter decided he wanted to do some pretty terrible things. Poisonous gases were still used, of course, though in slightly different contexts. Like any other war,
well, they used to, in World War II, what was it called? It was the, something Einsatzgruppen? Einsatzgruppen. The Einsatzgruppen were like mobile killing units in early World War II, and didn't they go around? It was like really ineffective, but it was really cruel. I mean, not that the other shit they did wasn't cruel. It was all cruel. But they used to, like, trap people in vans and then kill them with, like, carbon monoxide. Like, shooting them was too cost-effective, so they would be, like, they would throw you in a car and then hook up the, like, it would be like a mobile gas chamber.
World War II started, it was fought for a while, countless people died screaming, and then it was over. The way this war concluded, however, is fundamentally different from any other.
Waffen-SS? No, I'm talking about the Einsatzgruppen. I don't know if they're similar, but what did they do? They used to use, like, babies as target practice and shit. Mobile killing squads known for the role in the systematic murder of Jewish people and mass shooting operations and other methods. They didn't conduct the killings alone. Units of the Waffen-SS also accompanied them, and Romanian forces, local collaborators aided them. For example, over 2 days, a small detachment of Einsatzgruppen C, along with larger units, would order auxiliaries conducted a mass shooting of Jewish people. Yeah, they led to new developments of special vans outfitted with engines that pumped the carbon monoxide in the van into sealed passenger compartments, killing the people inside. And then even that was ineffective.
Other war fought before or since. Here is the story of the final weapon. To put things simply, the Allies and the Axis powers were in an arms race. Both of them.
I think that the nuclear bomb is probably the most deadly weapon, but I think that another point that needs to be made that hasn't really necessarily been used, but is most definitely developed, is like biological warfare of like diseases. Like, there are most definitely diseases that the US and other countries hold that they could release and it would kill everyone in a country in, not COVID, I'm saying way worse than COVID. Like something that would be transmittable very quickly and kill you in an extended period of time to where it would be able to transmit fast and not be able to be cured.
We're trying to use recently discovered
like if they were like releasing, the Black Plague again.
Nuclear technology in order to make a bomb.
A virus.
The final bomb. A bomb so big and destructive the other side of the war would have no choice but to surrender. When an element known as uranium-235 is compressed sufficiently, it triggers an atomic chain reaction, creating exponential amounts of energy, and thus an enormous explosion. The Americans were the first to figure out how to apply this to a bomb, and not without many scientists and researchers dying to make it happen. Little Boy, the code name for the first nuclear bomb to be used in war, weighed over 9,000 pounds and was dropped over the Japanese city of Hiroshima on August 6, 1945. Tens of thousands of civilians died in the initial explosion, and countless more died of radiation sickness afterwards. World War II officially ended less than a month later. No matter how impressive your tiny mustache is, you can't fight an enemy that can rain horrifying death upon you from the sky. Unless, of course, you can rain it right back on them. Countries around the world entered a nuclear arms race to create the biggest, most destructive bombs possible. It was quickly discovered that the process of nuclear fusion as opposed—
I might be dead wrong here, but didn't Hitler want to make one on his, like, weird mobile train thing that he was developing? Like, he didn't have— I'm not saying they were, like, that close, but didn't he have the idea, like, a similar idea of making a crazy bomb on his, like, train that he had? I don't know what it was called, but it was, like, a fucking huge-ass train that was worth a mega-ass load of money.
To fission was more effective. This is the same process that occurs in the cores of stars, constantly for billions of years, recreated for a fraction of a second.
The Gustav gun? I gotta look that up. The largest piece of artillery ever made, a German 80-centimeter railway gun developed in World War II, designed to destroy French line fortifications. No. I mean, this was their weapon, but did the Germans in World War II try to develop a nuke? They didn't succeed, but they conducted research into nuclear fission.
Second on Earth. The most powerful explosive to ever be created by humanity was called the Tsar Bomba, created by the Soviet Union and tested on October 30th, 1961. The devastating death cloud created by this explosion was 67 kilometers high, or about as tall as 8 Mount Everests stacked on top of each other. The nuclear bomb in all its terrifying forms is, hopefully, the last weapon humanity will ever need. There is no defense against it besides the—
I mean, is there anything bigger that you can make? The only thing that I'm thinking of is like a virus. Like, you could create a mutated virus that could kill everyone on Earth, and you would be able to spray it in planes, like, over people. That's how I perceive it. Is like the government would have something that they would fly planes over and just shoot droplets over cities. And then you wouldn't even need to infect that many people and it would spread. The only problem is, like, biological warfare is illegal. Yeah, the thing though is if, like, you encounter— just because it's illegal doesn't mean they have it in the back, in the sneaky back pocket, like a golem in Clash Royale. Like, just because it's not allowed doesn't mean they don't look into it. Like, I would assume that the United States, even though you're not allowed to, it's like, if you're the guy that does it and then they can't stop you, what are they gonna do? Like, war crimes are a rule unless you're a demented guy that's just gonna try and take over the world, you know? Like, if World War III were to happen and there was some guy that was like a new Austrian painter, and he was like, we're just gonna use this. Like, it's either they win or they die. So it's like, the goal is, they don't have to listen to that necessarily.
Fear that your enemy will retaliate with its own bombs, and thus no further developments are really necessary. Perhaps with this final nightmare, it's time for humanity as a species to move on, to stop killing each other and start doing something actually productive and meaningful. Such as hitting that subscribe button.
Yo, on God, though. That was a fire video. Just a Rock in Space. Shout the fuck out to them. That video was fire. Getting a like. Also, I gotta say, a lot of the animation channels that you see on YouTube, some cheaper animations, you know what I mean? Stick figure stuff. This is a lot more involved. Like, I'm liking the animations here. I feel like I'm watching a Gravity Falls thing. I enjoyed that. Next.